The House will be in order. Members will be in their chairs. We shall be led in prayer today by Pastor Sean Lewis, who is the Director of Civil Servant Ministries, serving the political leaders of Illinois. Pastor Lewis is the guest of Representative Morrison. Members and guests are asked to refrain from starting their laptops, turn off cell phones, and rise for the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Lewis.
If you would bow with me in prayer. Father in heaven, the book of James has a verse that seems very appropriate for today. James 1, verse 19 says, "Let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger." And why? James goes on in the next verse to say, "The anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God." Like it or not, we have a divided government in Illinois. It's especially easy to misrepresent one another, argue against straw men, vilify those who disagree. Pray this wouldn't be the case, that our elected officials would be quick to listen to one another, choose their words wisely, and be slow to become angry. May they conduct themselves in a way that's honorable in your sight. And finally, all of us know Fred Robinson, who's a doorman here in the House. And Fred had a massive heart attack last week. I certainly pray for healing and that we would see him here again soon. In Jesus' name, amen.
Be led in the pledge by Representative McDermott. Roll call for attendance. Leader Curry.
Speaker, please let the record reflect that Representative Gable is excused today.
Leader Belloc.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Please let the record reflect that Representative Poe has an excused absence today.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, please take the record. There are 116 members present, and there is a quorum of the House. Mr. Clerk, agreed resolutions.
Agreed resolutions. House Resolution 117, offered by Representative Martwick. House Resolution 118, offered by Representative Martwick. House Resolution 119, offered by Representative Martwick. House Resolution 120, offered by Representative Martwick. House Resolution 121, offered by Representative Martwick. House Resolution 122, offered by Representative Martwick. House Resolution 123, offered by Representative Martwick. House Resolution 124, offered by Representative Evans. House Resolution 126, offered by Representative Batnick. House Resolution 129, offered by Representative Ammons. House Resolution 130, offered by Representative Cavaletto. House Resolution 131, offered by Representative Cavaletto. House Resolution 139, offered by Representative Flowers. House Resolution 142, offered by Representative D'Amico. House Resolution 143, offered by Representative Verschoor. House Resolution 145, offered by Representative Evans. House Resolution 150, offered by Representative Wallace. House Resolution 151, offered by Representative Belloc. House Resolution 153, offered by Representative Golar. House Resolution 154, offered by Representative Wheeler. House Resolution 157, offered by Representative Flowers. House Resolution 158, offered by Representative Lane. House Resolution 159, offered by Representative Tabarez. And House Resolution 161, offered by Representative Ammons.
Leader Curry moves for the adoption of the agreed resolutions. Those in favor say yes, opposed no. The ayes have it. The agreed resolutions are adopted. The chair recognizes Representative Belloc.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask all the members of the chamber to congratulate today. It is Tom Morrison's 40th birthday.
Congratulations, Representative. Great way to spend the day here on the floor of the Illinois House of Representatives. Chair recognizes Mr. Tryon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Proceed, sir.
I just want to remind everybody that the School Management Alliance has a reception at the State House Inn from 5 to 6:30 where going to be hundreds of administrators and school board members from our local school districts. Just want to make sure, they wanted to reach out and make sure that was a calendar item that everybody had received their notification, and hopefully you'll be able to stop by State House Inn 5 to 6:30 tonight.
Thank you, sir. Leader Durkin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Please proceed.
We're very proud of the fact that just recently one of our members, Representative Wayne Rosenthal, was made a director for the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. It created the vacancy in the 95th Legislative District. And I'm pleased to say that last Saturday, the 4 counties which comprise the county, the 95th legislative district, unanimously chose a new representative who is with us today, who was sworn in at 9:10 a.m., Representative Avery Bourne from rural Montgomery County. If we could give her a warm welcome. Thank you, Avery. Welcome aboard.
Welcome, Representative. Representative Bourne, would you like to say hello to the body?
Thank you so much, and I'm so excited to be here with all of you.
Thank you, Representative. Mr. Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would just like to announce that the initial meeting of the Boat Drink Caucus will be held this evening at the Butternut Hut about 9:15.
Mr. Verschoor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Point of personal pleasure.
Proceed.
Tonight at 5 to 7:30 on the 29th floor of the Hilton, the Illinois Pipe Trades Association is going to have their reception. It's always a fun time, and everyone's invited, and there might be a drink or two served and some food. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Phelps.
Point of an announcement, Mr. Speaker.
Proceed, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. at the Illinois State Museum, the Illinois Sportsman's Caucus will have a reorganizational meeting, and our special guest speaker is the new DNR Director, Wayne Rosenthal. I hope you can make it.
Representative Mayfield.
Thank you, everyone. I just want to remind everyone that this is Black History Month, and in honor of that, the Illinois Legislative Black Caucus will be hosting our annual soiree tonight. It will be at the Abraham Lincoln Museum, so change of venue. So we're hoping everybody will join us 7 p.m. tonight. We've got great home-cooked food. It is going to be the party of the night, so we're hoping everybody will be able to join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative McCasey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the House. I, too, rise on a point of personal privilege for purposes of an announcement. Tonight, I just want to remind all of the women of the Conference of Women Legislators that this evening we will have a reception at the Sangamo Club in the patio room beginning at 5 p.m. Please join us for a great kickoff to a new legislative session, as well as an opportunity to welcome our new women legislators. Thank you.
Mr. Worley.
Thank you, Speaker. Point of personal privilege.
Please proceed, sir.
I'd like to welcome to the Illinois House Mayor David Brumlott of Warrenville, and our two chairman of the Naperville Area Chamber of Commerce, Nikki Anderson, and the chairman of the board, Rosemary Bresky-Garvey. Welcome to your house.
Welcome to the Illinois House of Representatives. Representative Monique Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and ladies and gentlemen of the Illinois General Assembly. I'd like to invite all representatives to a press conference at 10 a.m. tomorrow in the Blue Room, in the basement of the Capitol. We're going to talk about the unfairness of the International Little League team, Little League Committee, taking the trophy from those babies. 12 and 13-year-olds, they won the games. They won the games. So we're going to talk about, if adults do wrong, do we punish children? So I ask you, I beg you, come to the press conference at 10 a.m. tomorrow, where we asked the International Little League Committee to rescind their stripping that wonderful team from their one trophy, being the national champions of Little League. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. An inquiry of the chair, if I may.
Please proceed, sir.
Is this the third Wednesday of February?
I believe it is.
And so it's the third Wednesday of February, which by state law, I believe, is the date that the governor is supposed to give his budget message.
I believe it is.
This governor has been in office 5 weeks, and he's giving his budget message. We've had a governor previously in the past 6 years. Only once in those 6 years did the governor give his budget message on time. We may or may not like what this governor has to say, but at least he's taken the time to say it on time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Representative Belloc.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Along with Representative Morrison and Representative Moffett, it is also Governor Rauner who's coming to make his speech today. It's also his birthday, too. Thank you.
It's a lot of birthdays in one day. I'm breathless. Representative Phelps.
I have another announcement, Mr. Speaker. Please join my fellow colleagues, please join me today up to my left. Help us welcome to the House the new IML Executive Director, Brad Cole. Brad, thanks for being here.
Welcome, Mr. Cole. Mr. Bennett.
Point of personal privilege.
Please proceed.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize my wife, Kathy Bennett, who's up in the gallery, along with two of the folks from the 106, Susan and David. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Welcome aboard, everyone. Representative Williams.
Point of personal privilege.
Please proceed.
Ladies and gentlemen, just a quick note, if I could have your attention just briefly, or I could talk louder. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to let everybody know that we are having a meeting of the Green Caucus, a breakfast tomorrow 7 to 9 a.m. at Cafe Moxo. Please come by, learn all about the great things we're working on this year, and meet some of our advocates. 7 to 9 tomorrow, Cafe Moxo. Be there.
Mr. Clerk, adjournment resolution.
House Joint Resolution Number 30, be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 99th General Assembly of the State of Illinois, concurring herein that when the House of Representatives adjourns on Friday, February 20th, 2015, it stands adjourned until Wednesday, February 25th, 2015, at 12 o'clock noon or until the call of the Speaker. And when the Senate adjourns on Thursday, February 19th, 2015, it stands adjourned until Tuesday, March 3rd, 2015, or until the call of the President.
Leader Curry moves for the adoption of the adjournment resolution. Those in favor say yes, opposed no. The ayes have it, and the adjournment resolution is adopted. Speaker Madigan in the chair.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Would all members please take their seats? Would the members please take their seats? The governor is prepared to begin. The regular session will stand in recess. The doorkeeper is recognized for an announcement. Mr. Doorkeeper.
Mr. Speaker, the Honorable President Cullerton and members of the Senate are at the door and seek admission to the chamber.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Mr. Doorkeeper, please admit the honorable senators. As designated in House Joint Resolution 12, the hour of 12 noon having arrived, the joint session of the 99th General Assembly will now come to order. Will the members of the House and our guests from the Senate please take their seats? Mr. Clerk, is a quorum of the House present?
A quorum of the House is present.
Mr. President, is a quorum of the Senate present in this chamber?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A quorum of the Senate is present.
There being a quorum of the House and a quorum of the Senate in attendance, this joint session is convened. We'd like to recognize certain dignitaries who have joined us today. First, the Chief of Staff to Governor Rauner, Mike Zalowicz. Mike. The Director of the Office of Management and Budget, Tim Nuding. The Lieutenant Governor, Evelyn Sanguinetti. The Attorney General, Lisa Madigan. The Secretary of State, Jesse White. The Comptroller, Leslie Munger. The Treasurer, Mike Ferricks. The Auditor General, Bill Holland. The Superintendent of the State Board of Education, Chris Cook. Former member of the House, Congressman Aaron Schock. Chair recognizes the Majority Leader, Representative Curry.
Thank you, Speaker. I move for the adoption of Joint Session Resolution 2.
Mr. Clerk, read the resolution.
Joint Session Resolution Number 2, be it resolved that a Committee of 10 be appointed, 5 from the House by the Speaker of the House and 5 from the Senate by the President of the Senate, to wait upon Governor Bruce Rauner and invite him to address the Joint Assembly.
Representative Curry has moved for the adoption of the resolution. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the Chair, the ayes have it and the resolution is adopted. Pursuant to the resolution, the following are appointed as a committee to escort the Governor. The appointments from the House would be Representative Jay Hoffman, Representative Stephanie Kifowit, Representative L.G. Sims, Representative Margot McDermott, Representative Peter Breen.
The appointments from the Senate are Senator Donnie Trotter, Senator Michael Noland, Senator Jennifer Bertino Tarrant, Senator Karen McConaughey, and Senator Jim Oberweis.
Will the Committee of Escort please convene at the rear of the chamber and await the Governor? The doorkeeper is recognized for an announcement.
Mr. Speaker, the Governor of the State of Illinois, Bruce Rauner, and his party wish to be admitted to this chamber.
Admit the Governor.
clapping now. Last time he was clapping.
Mr. Governor.
Good afternoon. President Cullerton, Speaker Madigan, Leader Radonio, Leader Durkin, Lieutenant Governor Sanguinetti, Attorney General Madigan, Secretary White, Comptroller Munger, Treasurer Freyricks, members of the General Assembly, thank you for attending today, and thank you for your service to the people of Illinois. Over the past week, we've commemorated the life of Illinois' greatest leader, Abraham Lincoln. In the lead up to his signing of the Emancipation Proclamation, President Lincoln delivered a letter to Congress, writing in part, "The occasion is piled high with difficulty, and we must rise with the occasion. We must think anew and act anew." While the challenges before us are very different than those that faced our 16th president, here in the land of Lincoln, we recognize that the road ahead, our road to a more prosperous future, is a difficult one. And like President Lincoln's call to Congress, we too must think anew and act anew. We must be willing to take actions we'd rather avoid and make decisions that may seem unpopular in the short run, but serve the best interests of the people of Illinois in the long run. The budget outlined today is the budget Illinois can afford. And that in itself is an example of thinking anew. Because for far too long, we have been living beyond our means, spending money that Illinois taxpayers could not afford. This budget is honest with the people of Illinois, and it presents an honest path forward. Like a family, we must come together to address the reality we face. Families know that every member can't get everything they want, but we can pay for what we need most. And we can reform our system so we are able to invest more in the future. Because the task before us is so large, all our challenges cannot be solved by a single budget. It will take time to restore Illinois to fiscal health. Now is the time to start on a responsible path after years of financial recklessness. Instilling discipline is not easy. Saying no is not popular. But it is now or never for Illinois. It is make or break time. Before we can address next year's budget, we must first solve the current year's crisis. As you know, the current budget was $1.6 billion in the hole when it was signed last year. And the prior administration directed state agencies not to control their costs. As a result, we are in the middle of a crisis that gets worse every day. The Child Care Assistance Program is out of money, and families are worried about how to care for their children. Court reporters will start missing payroll next month, threatening to grind our justice system to a halt. And our state prisons will start missing payroll in early April, making them unable to fulfill their most basic operations. Everyone in this chamber understands the severity of what is immediately in front of us. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, Leader Radonio, Leader Durkin, thank you all for allowing your staffs to meet with our administration these past weeks to find a responsible solution to our immediate budget crisis. It appears that we are very close, literally days away from a resolution. And every day counts. Members of the General Assembly, now is the time for action. It is time to solve this crisis. Let's continue the Child Care Assistance Program. Let's keep our courtrooms open. And let's keep our corrections officers on duty. Let's put the people of Illinois over partisan politics. Solving this year's crisis will eliminate $1.6 billion from next year's deficit. Let's get it done. But even after we solve this year's crisis, we will still be left with a budget hole of $6.2 billion for the coming fiscal year. This huge deficit is the result of years of bad decisions, sleight of hand budgeting, and giveaways we could not afford. This is not the result of decreasing tax rates. Some in the General Assembly are eager to discuss new revenue. There's at least one. But before revenue should be discussed, reform is essential. Before we ask the people of Illinois to pay more to fund state government, we must ensure taxpayers are getting value for their money. Asking for more of the taxpayers' hard-earned money without fundamentally reforming the structure of state government would further erode public confidence and accelerate our decline. Waste and inefficiency are rampant in our current system. Illinois government is currently designed to benefit those inside the system rather than those working families throughout our state. We must institute major reforms, or whatever balanced budget we craft together this year will be undone in the years ahead by the special interests that make their money from the government and pay politicians to spend more. We must eliminate conflicts of interest in state government and end our broken system. These reforms won't be easy. Decades of special interest laws will be difficult to undo. But to be compassionate, we must be competitive. And that means having the political courage to put the people's interests first and the special interests last. Our top priority for financial reform must be our pension system. That is true regardless of the Supreme Court's decision on SB 1. Even if our pension systems were fully funded, taxpayers would still be on the hook for $2 billion. But our pension systems are not fully funded. They're currently $111 billion in the hole, the worst pension crisis in America. As it stands right now, 1 out of every $4 taken from taxpayers by the state goes into a system that is giving more than 11,000 government retirees tax-free, 6-figure pensions worth as much as, in one case, $450,000 per year. Without reforms proposed in this budget, nearly 25 cents of every tax dollar will continue going into a broken pension system instead of into our social services safety net, into our schools, or back into the pockets of taxpayers and small businesses. That is unfair and it's unsustainable. And it changes with this budget. Government employees deserve fair and competitive benefits. But we cannot continue to raise taxes on all Illinoisans in order to fund the retirement benefits of a small fraction of our residents. The pension reform plan in this budget will protect every dollar of benefits earned to date. And let me repeat that. This is core. This is core of this issue. The pension reform plan we are proposing protects every dollar of benefits that have earned so far. What you've earned, you're going to get. And if you are retired, you get everything you were promised. That is fair and that is right. But moving forward, all future work should be under the Tier 2 pension plan, except for our police officers and our firefighters. Those who put their lives on the line in service to our state deserve to be treated differently. And I believe the public will stand with me in this single case of special treatment. This budget also gives employees hired before 2011 a choice to take a buyout option, a lump sum payment, and a defined contribution plan in return for a voluntary reduction in cost of living adjustments. It's time to empower our workforce and address one of the biggest fiscal challenges we face. These reforms will yield more than $2 billion in savings in the first year alone. And this is critical as well, and by bringing health care benefits more in line with those received by the taxpayers who pay for them, we can save an additional $700 million per year. We recognize that some of these reforms cannot be achieved through legislation alone. Some must be achieved through good faith bargaining. And I hope that those on the other side of the table are as committed as I am to achieving the types of meaningful reform that are necessary for Illinois' future. While the state tightens its belt, so too must local governments and transportation agencies. The amount of money transferred to local governments in Illinois has grown 42% over the past decade. The state currently transfers $6 billion every year to local governments. Those governments are currently sitting on more than $15 billion in cash reserves. Think about that. The reduction in local government sharing in this budget is equal to just 3% of their total revenue. Along with this modest cutback, our turnaround reforms will reduce unfunded mandates and give local governments and voters the tools to save hundreds of millions of dollars through consolidation, employment flexibility, and compensation restructuring. Similarly, waste and inefficiency can be cut from the complex web that comprises our public transportation structure. Statewide, our public transportation agencies spend billions of taxpayer dollars. Our budget reductions for the state's largest transit agency amount to less than 5% of its overall budget. And here, too, the proposals in our turnaround agenda give our transportation entities the tools to save hundreds of millions of dollars. Reining in these costs allows us to minimize reductions in other areas of the budget. For Medicaid, our budget reduces costs significantly while maintaining eligibility levels for most lower-income Illinoisans. We plan to re-implement many of the Medicaid reform measures that were enacted just a few years ago by you. And they were well done, well thought out. We are going to reenact those, re-implement those. Many of them have already been undone in recent years. By reinstituting the SMART Act and prioritizing our redetermination efforts, we will save hundreds of millions of dollars. Our budget will also reduce costs by fixing our broken criminal justice system. Far too many offenders return to prison within 3 years of leaving, a vicious and costly cycle. Our prisons are overcrowded. Our corrections officers are overworked. By reforming our criminal justice system, we can make our prisons safer, rehabilitate ex-offenders so they become productive members of society, and save many tens of millions of dollars for the taxpayers. Taken together, our turnaround reforms, along with the difficult but necessary choices in this budget, will enable us to invest in our future. Making these tough choices is a small price to pay for the promise of a better tomorrow for our children and our grandchildren. In the gallery today, we are joined by students from Lincoln Community High School in Lincoln and Lanphier High School and Lincoln Magnet School here in Springfield. This budget allows us to invest in them. We are going to invest in you and all the school children in our state. For years, state support for education has been cut, even when it didn't have to be. It's time to make education our top priority again. And that's what this budget does. We start by increasing high-quality early childhood education options for our most vulnerable children. Every dollar invested today in early childhood education saves us more than $7 in the future. Increasing funding for our youngest is the smart and the compassionate thing to do. This budget also increases K-12 education funding by $300 million. Helping school districts in our state that most need our support. We have much more work to do together to make our schools among the best in the nation, but we are proud of the commitment we're making together with you in this budget. What we propose today is a turnaround budget. It improves public safety, provides care for our most vulnerable residents, boosts funding for education, and restructures the core costs of state government that are holding us back. However, while this budget begins to fix our financial problems, the only real answer to our challenges is to become pro-growth again. We need a booming economy. More small businesses and entrepreneurs starting here, and more people and businesses moving here. If we don't take action now to expand the economic pie, the people of Illinois will forever be left to fight over smaller and smaller slices. Our citizens deserve a path to economic growth and empowerment. And that means putting people first and special interests last. To grow our economy, we must enact meaningful workers' compensation reform, unemployment insurance reform, lawsuit reform, pension reform, and tax reform. We've got to freeze property taxes. They're our most punishing taxes in Illinois. Cut the red tape. Cut the red tape inside state and local government, and let people control their own economic destinies. We need to end the corrupt bargains inside government and end the conflicts of interest in our government. We need to finally let the people have their say on a term limits amendment to the state constitution. If we make these reforms, we'll be laying a solid foundation for economic growth and prosperity. With reform, we will be able to invest more in education and give our kids world-class schools. We'll be able to invest more in our social services safety net to help our most vulnerable residents. And we'll be able to invest more in our infrastructure, which is critical. The turnaround plan here reflects President Lincoln's call to think anew and act anew. In it, we end the irresponsible and reckless practices of the past and make sure they don't happen again. We make difficult choices that no one wants to make, but it's what this occasion requires. And it's what we were all elected to do, make choices based on what's best for the next generation, not for the next election. This is our last, best chance to get our house in order. Let's get it done together. Thank you all very much, and God bless you for your service to the people of Illinois. Thank you.
Will the Committee of Escort please come forward to escort the governor from the chamber? The President of the Senate is recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the joint session do now arise.
The President of the Senate has moved that the joint session do now arise. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the joint session will now arise. The regular session will come to order.
Representative Lang and the chair. Mr. Clerk, committee announcements.
Attention members of the House. The following committees have been canceled this afternoon. Insurance.